Hello, welcome to this presentation on monoculture and agricultural monopolies and how damaging they are to the environment and our society. This is the monocultural revolution, prepared by yours truly, Jack Delga. On the agenda today, I'm going to introduce you to the topic. We're going to go over the scope of things. We'll go in depth on the downsides of monoculture, and then we will discuss some solutions that are can lead the way to a better future. After that, we'll get some takeaways, and then I'm going to ask you guys for some feedback. Um, any questions or things you want me to? The data I sourced was conducted via a in-house survey with 90 respondents. I read multiple articles, forums, case studies, and treasury metrics for state and country economies. Um, so I'll ask you guys right away, what is monoculture? That's exactly what it is. Excellent. I did a public poll, and most people were not familiar with the concept of monoculture. And, just due to some simple addition, 80% of people claim they did not know what it means. Um, but yeah, you're exactly right. It really doesn't sound too bad to start, but it really does have some damaging effects. Just to start though, um, there were two big events that really got this going. First, they started the reimbursement acts, the government subsidies in agriculture through the Agricultural Adjustment Act. And this was in response to the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, which was an event where all the there was major drought in the United States, and um, all the dust, the topsoil got diminished. So it was just blowing dust all over the plains of America. And what the Agricultural Adjustment Act does is it pays out farmers a certain price per crop, regardless if they're sold or not, to promote creation. And then what really paved the way for monoculture specifically was the Green Revolution in the 1960s. There was technological advancement in fertilizers, pesticides, high yielding crops, and agricultural equipment, which made it very easy to mass produce one crop in sake for profits. Now, monoculture is a pretty big thing. 80% of agricultural land is monocrop globally, which is kind of detrimental when you think of how harmful it is to our environment. And 20% of farms produce 80% of outputs. What does this mean? This means a small portion of huge corporately owned farms are producing 80% of the production in agriculture. This is in scale. This is in million acres. How much each crop, the common ones, uh, related to agriculture, monoculture. Um, yeah, how many acres they take up? 225 million. That's a lot of land. This is from the USDA Agricultural Outlook Forum. And this fuels the deforestation epidemic and commonly seen in the Amazon rainforest as they are taking out so much of the jungle just for soybean agriculture. This displaces bacteria, fungus, insects, animals, anything living in the natural ecosystem that you could think of. They just in the Amazon alone, it loses about 2 million acres, which contributes to about 20% of the photosynthetic oxygen output, which is oxygen production on land. Um, which reduces soil organic matter by getting rid of displacing all the biodiversity in the environment. Soil organic matter is think of that as the dead bugs, the dead vegetation. It's the natural fertilizers that make just life important, especially in the plant species. Um, and the displacing of this obviously again causes ecological decline. The way it happens is it simplifies the web of life. Now, life is such a complex topic and concept where everything's kind of working in unison. You know, you got the bees pollinate the flowers that feed the herbivores that eat the carnivores, and it's the circle of life. But simplifying this creates some major problems, and it favors select organisms, especially the ones that could feed off of the one crop that is in the area. And getting simplifying this system causes nutrient depletion. I've seen it phrased by Wetzel. He's a he's he's a professor at Michigan State University right now, and it's like withdrawing from a bank without making proper deposits because they're constantly taking out the nutrients these specific plants need without putting anything useful back into the ecosystem. Now, what's the implications of it? It creates a necessity for chemical intervention in the form of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. Now, here's kind of where it affects you, the consumer. The removal of these natural um, barriers create an all-you-can-eat buffet for pests and bugs and disease, which is fueled with rising temperatures. As temperatures begin to rise, so do insect reproduction rates and um, what's the word? And resistance to pesticides because they go stronger. Insects are cold-blooded creatures, so their biology directly correlates to the weather patterns. An example of the excessive vulnerability is the Irish potato famine, where Ireland was growing one species of potato, and then the late blight fungus started spreading. It killed half of the population. They were so heavily reliant on one crop, 1 million died, and 1 million were forced to migrate. And this was before global populations were huge. It's a pretty simple process here, as I've detailed. The removal of natural barriers creates more frequent reproduction, increased resistance, so the need to spray goes up. Um, and here's your direct effects. How does this affect you? The increased need to spray can affect you in a couple ways. For one, when you touch a pesticide or a harmful chemical, it can cause redness, itching, burning, nausea, all these minor problems. But with the long-term exposure, it puts you at risk of leukemia, lymphoma, cancers of the brain, prostate, and ovaries. It's also heavily linked to neurological disorders like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And the strongest correlations are shown in children's neural development and behavior disorders, which is honestly sickening. They subject us to really messing up people's lives for their whole time. Here is a graph that shows the correlations between um, the common chemicals used in pesticides and the diseases that they are correlated to. Um, it also brings some societal impacts. Look at this beautiful image of Machu Picchu. They were farming everything in, they had all these advanced systems without any downsides to the production. Um, the global connection that modern technology and industries have produced is good, but it really gets rid of the cultural niches that make us unique. Um, there are more societal impacts on this, as 75% of plant diversity has been lost. Um, 30% of livestock breeds are at risk of extinction. 75% of the world's food is made from 12 plants and 5 animal species. Why would that be? Obviously, because these 12 plants and 5 animal species are the ones that could be subjugated to max production, which obviously favors the corporations who are in control of all of these. There are 250 to 300,000 known edible plant species. Of these, us humans only eat 150 to 200. Of these, 3 contribute to 60% of human caloric intake, being rice, maize, and wheat. All also are associated with low quality food that's cheap to produce and has correlated with the rise of obesity in America. Um, here's really the sickening part. A genetically modified organism is a GMO. It's where they have been able to, well, modify the DNA of select, whatever they want. 90% of soy and 70% of corn are considered Roundup ready or tolerant to glyphosate, a common agent in pesticide usage, especially Roundups. And these seeds are patented by corporations like Bayer and Syngenta. Um, GMO crops are not sterile, but there's 2 exceptions to this rule. They have developed a terminator gene technology, which makes the crop sterile, and but that's less common. What's more common is that seed companies will make farmers enter contracts with the company stating that in order to buy seeds from them, the only seeds um, that create financial stability, that are financially feasible, I guess, they make them buy those seeds and enter contracts stating that they will buy seeds from them and not harvest the seeds. So they can't use, the natural process to like of reproduction. Now, chemical methods of learning new chemical interventions takes 11 years and $287 million. Biological reproduction methods and sustainability methods are, for one, already known by the natural order of things and only cost $2 million. So all this chemical intervention, developing new pesticides, is not even financially responsible. It's not better. It doesn't benefit us in no way. Here lies another problem. This is really evil. GMO seed debt. From 1995 to 2022, there have been almost 400,000 just reported cases of Indian farmer suicides. That's more than twice. That's twice the rest of the urban population. What happens is Indian farmers get into debt to the seed companies because they have to buy their seeds, they have to use the Roundup, and developing countries like India don't have the same subsidized programs that like America does or a different more advanced country, which now they're in debt. They have to buy again from these seed companies and they have no money. So they commit suicide at twice the rate of the wider population because hopefully their family will get some reimbursement on that.